Shaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for the 28th installment of the 815 Exchange. Welcome back. Another week in entertainment, because we have a massive TV and music section. I'm not going to lie to you this week. Another week has passed in the entertainment and sports industry, so we have me here to recap it for you. What else? It's the greatest month of the year still. I'm now a week into being 20. I guess yesterday was the day for the lovers, so congratulations. But if you follow me on TikTok or you follow me on Twitter, which is where I'm most active, and if you want to follow me on any of my social medias, that of course is in the description, as well as all of the timestamps. Getting that out of the way really early. Got that away in the intro. I'm impressed. Also, what else was I going to say? Oh, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. And for more content, just keep running the numbers up. Appreciate it. Love it as always. But yeah, yesterday was Valentine's Day, so if you had a Valentine, congratulations. But, on Twitter, I pretty much voiced my opinions on that. Y'all can check that out. And that was the situation. But yeah, y'all are all good today. So, back to the matters at hand. And that's we'll be starting with the combat sports world, which in this case is the UFC. Ladies and gentlemen, UFC 258, which is one of the weaker cards. I mean, to be fair, UFC 259, which I'll be talking about in 2 weeks. Yeah, I believe 2 weeks from now. Yeah, I'll be talking about that in 2 weeks from now. That is absolutely stacked. There's 4 belts on the line in that event, and the undercard is looking ridiculous. But we had to get to UFC 258 first, and it had its fair share of interesting things, even with the weaker card, so to speak. Skipping right to the main card, co-main event, we have Alexia Grasso, we have Macy Barber. Macy nicknamed The Future. I saw a lot of people after this fight nicknaming her The Past. Grasso handles Barber 2-1, won the first 2 rounds, did a great job. Grasso might be in a position to make some moves and rise up the contender rankings in that division. Barber, again, she was one of the top female prospects about a year or 2 ago. Had a little bit of hype starting to go around her, but 2 straight losses has kind of derailed that hype train. She fought really well in the 3rd round, but just did not have it throughout the fight where she needed. If she'd have fought like that, and it seemed like I think she could have still had some, in the tank after the fight, where she could have went a little bit harder in that 2nd round, she might have been able to get that split decision. But nonetheless, Grasso handles business. She gets rid of Barber. In the fight, actually before that, Kelvin Gastelum, known for his fight of the year with Izzy Adesanya, and just basically fighting anybody that is anybody in that middleweight division, took on Ian Heinisch. He gets the UD on Heinisch. Great job by Gastelum to get back in winning ways. I know a lot of people were worried about the embeddeds in his training facilities, and the fact that his girlfriend is his nutrition, and people were requesting her credentials. I saw a bunch of that, but Gastelum shows he's still one of the top guys at middleweight on the planet. Gets the win over Heinisch. It's a great way for him to get back on track. Gastelum, he's a great fighter. His style can cause a lot of issues, and you saw that in the Adesanya fight. And we'll see if he can get some of these rematches against these high-levels guys, because he's pretty much faced them all. And see if he can actually get the dub this time. But good one for Gastelum. But, ladies and gentlemen, you know why you're here. You know why you're. If you're watching this MMA section, you were here to hear me talk about the main events. The headliner of UFC 258 was, of course, the welterweight bout between former teammates turned rivals, Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare, Usman, and, of course, Gilbert Burns. Trevor Whitman is he's a savant. He's a savant, clearly, of a coach. Absolutely brilliant. The way that Usman has developed under Trevor Whitman is incredible. Not that Usman wasn't good already, but Trevor Whitman is taking him to all-time great status, which is a potential I saw for Usman when I saw him take the title off of Tyron Woodley. In this fight, round 1, Burns, great job won the round, dare say, had Usman rocked. Ended up on his back, and I think that's what ended up costing Burns in the long term here. That Usman was able to get Burns on his back, and Burns wasn't able to get up, and that allowed Usman to get that time to recharge, to refresh, and recover from being rocked. Because it looked like, I'm gonna be honest, the thought was flying through my head. I was like, oh my goodness, we are really about to watch Kamaru Usman get finished in the first round. Gilbert Burns is really the one, but he was not the one. He's not the one. Kamaru Usman clearly is the one, the way he came out in round 2 and round 3. And of course that jab, the jab that, knocked Gilbert Burns down with a jab, I think almost 4 times or 4 or 5 times. Just a brilliant game plan from Usman. Showed a great chin to recover from that and then come back stronger. His striking is much improved. I don't need to even talk about the wrestling and the takedown defense. Not that there was too much of that, but again, perfect. He stuffed all of Burns' tried, takedown attempts. He's up there with Khabib all time in takedown defense percentage. I think it's like 97% of those that has been blocked. But just Uso, what else? The accolades. Oh, past GSP, I think, for the consecutive wins in the UFC. He broke that. But yeah, just a great job from a guy who's become a little bit underrated. And Kamaru Usman, he was absolutely right in the post-fight conference when he was like, I need my respect. Kamaru Usman needs his respect as one of the best in the world. He has beaten everybody there is to beat, except for Wonder Boy. In that division, we'll see how Michael Chiesa does, and see if he becomes a contender. Usman called for the Masvidal rematch after the fight. Honestly, because I don't know who else for Usman. The fight, I'll talk about what I think the fight to make is. It's not going to happen, but it's just a hypothetical. Honestly, I'm fine with him facing Masvidal because, there's nobody really else for him to fight. He can't move up to 185 and fight the light heavyweights. The middleweights. Partially because Izzy just moved up, and that'd be a conflict. But I also don't think he beats Izzy. I think Izzy's length and just, even though Kamaru's striking has gotten better, Izzy's probably the best striker in terms of mixed martial arts striking and kickboxing in all of MMA, not counting, of course, people in actual kickboxing. At least in the very least, the UFC. I can't say all of MMA because there's some guys out there. But I will say in the UFC, probably the best striker in the UFC. In his precision, his length, his timing, his power, I think that'd just be too much for Usman to try to overcome. Even the strength advantage, I don't know how much of a strength advantage he would really have moving up, even though he would get stronger, but is he already used to fighting guys bigger than him or at that weight, already has that strength? I don't know if he'd be able to deal with that. So he's kind of sitting in this stuck position here in the welterweight division. And call for the Masvidal fight, I'm cool with it. Street Jesus, I know he's calling for a bunch of different fights because money. I don't know if he's going to take this fight because I don't think Masvidal is going to beat Usman. I would very much so be surprised if that happened. But honestly, I'm fine with it. I think that Colby fight, the second Colby fight, is pretty much inevitable with how good Colby is. I think he's the second best in that division, if I'm being honest. Though I think a Colby versus Burns fight could be interesting, and seeing how that goes. Again, this fight wasn't necessarily that Burns was bad. It's just that Burns is very good welterweight, very good fighter, one of the best. It's just that Usman's on another level. He's just on another level right now. And the fight, I think, to be made hypothetically, even though it won't happen, would be the Khabib fight. Just because stylistically, and that's pretty much the only challenge I could see for Khabib and for Usman. Though Usman's strength might be a little bit too much, though I know Khabib, he walks around, up at 180, 170, so, and he's used to fighting. Dude grew up wrestling bears. But I could see Usman's strength being a bit of a bit too much for Khabib in that fight. But I don't know. I think stylistically that'd be an interesting fight. Of course at 170, because Usman, there's no way There's no way he'd make 155. But I think that would be the fight to make, hypothetically, but I don't think it'll be happening. If that Masvidal fight happens, so be it. I'm down. Just want to see more of one of the best welterweights and potentially one of the best fighters of all time continue his trail of dominance and continue putting on for Nigeria. So shout out to Kamaru Usman. Shout out to Gilbert Burns. That scene after the fight, the AK camera, that was really emotional. Almost got me crying a little bit. But yeah, for what it was, decent event from the UFC. So shout out to Dana. But we all know UFC 259 is absolutely going to be where it's at. Now, passing it over to the college basketball world, we had some interesting developments here as some top-tier teams that have been a little bit absent from not only the show, but from college basketball returned this week. Of course, I'm going to lead off with the number 2 team in the country. Right behind that, Gonzaga, Baylor. Super tier is Michigan. They took on Wisconsin, a ranked Wisconsin team, by the way. They get the win 67-59. Isaiah Livers had 20 points. Hunter Dickinson, who has to be on some kind of all-freshman team, 11, 15, and 5. Dickinson is the reason why I'm not, even though I'm high on a little bit, I understand he's a good player, and I think he's a pretty good player. I think he's going to be, at the very least, a decent player in the league or whatever. But the sole reason I'm not as high on him as other prospects, which I'll get to when I talk about the Ignite later on in the podcast, is because of Hunter Dickinson and him giving him the business last year in high school. Hunter Dickinson honestly should have been a 5-star in my opinion, but nonetheless, here we go. Big win for Michigan, 3-week layoff to come right back in, beat a team the caliber of Wisconsin. That's huge. They hop right back in there. Did just fine. Ohio State took out Indiana 78-59 in their game. E.J. Liddell had 16. So Ohio State, number 14 in the country. Both of those teams returning. Ohio State, this is their 6th straight win. They're hot right now. Michigan's hot right now. Honestly, that's the big game. Not the football version right now, which Ohio State has been utterly dominating. But the big game in between Ohio State and Michigan right now looks like it's basketball, not football. Both of those teams operating on a high level, looking very good, looking like some of the top teams in the country, which of course is what their ranking states. So I'm very much so looking forward to that matchup. Big win for Wisconsin. Big win for Dickinson and Michigan. Big win for Liddell and Ohio State. We'll see how they do the rest of the season. Kicking it over to what's been the most interesting conference the past couple weeks with the Big Ten and with COVID, and that's the Big 12. Oklahoma, in one of the games of the week, gets the win over West Virginia in double OT. Reeves showed up huge, hit some clutch baskets for Oklahoma. He had 21. Culver for West Virginia had a monster game, 29-14. Good stuff from him. West Virginia got a couple guys. I think they could do very well in the tournament because they got a couple guys. They're like the anti-Kansas in terms of Kansas has guys that could step up but don't. West Virginia has a bunch of guys that do step up and make plays. However, Oklahoma made more plays, and big win for Lon Kruger's team. I've talked about it before on the podcast. They've looked very good. Big win in Big 12 play for Oklahoma. We'll see how this momentum carries on for them. See if they can crack that top 10. I think today the rankings come out. So that's something to look out for. LSU, let's talk about some of the big upsets for the week. LSU with a huge upset over Tennessee, 78-65. Cam Thomas with 60. Wow, if Cam Thomas scored 65 points. Cam Thomas with 25 points. The all-time leading scorer at Oak Hill Academy, Cam Thomas, one of the top prospects coming out of high school this past year. Former 5-star Cam Thomas. Leading all freshman scorers, Cam Thomas. Big game from him. Keon Johnson, I see the flashes, I see the athleticism, but he hasn't really, I don't really understand. I'm seeing him mocked like in the top 10, and I'm not really seeing it right now when I see him play. Maybe it's like I've got a curse on him or what, I don't know. Sorry, Tennessee fans. Jaden Springer, 704 native, he put on though. He had a good game, but Cam Thomas 25. However, he shot 6 for 16, and I have to say this about Cam. Though he's been scoring at a great rate, showed a lot of NBA potential that he should justifiably absolutely be getting drafted in this upcoming draft and possibly in the lottery. he's got to work on his efficiency. No, I mean, his efficiency totals for the season aren't too bad, though he's only shooting, I think, 30% from three, which seems to be a reoccurring problem with freshmen this year, I've noticed. But he needs to be more efficient in some of these games. He's got a lot of games where I've noticed him at 6 for 16 or 5 for 19 or, stuff like that. And that's just really inefficient scoring. If he can get that efficiency up, he could be really deadly and on the brink of superstar or star potential in the league. So something for him to clean up, but he's continuing to play well as he gets the big win. And lastly, for college basketball, we had Creighton get the win over Villanova, who I thought were frauds anyway. Marcus Zagrowski, one of the top guards, I think, in the nation. He had 25, big win for Creighton. They should be comfortably in the tournament, I believe. Shouldn't be really any doubt. They've been ranked pretty much all year. They got a pretty good team too. Nova, interesting loss here. I don't know exactly what to think about them. Sometimes they look like a top 10 team. Sometimes they look like they should be in the back half of the top 25. They just kind of been a little bit up and down here. So I'm not really sure what to make of them. They could be a potential early round exit out of a top seed, so to speak. I could see them getting upset. I put them on that type of watch, but big win for Creighton. Huge for the tournament chances they should be in after that one. So yeah, that's college basketball. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I told you I had a big entertainment segment set up here, and I have absolutely plenty to talk about. And before I get to TV, because that's what I'm going to start off with, once again, spoiler alert, I will be talking about spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled on WandaVision or Attack on Titan, please refrain, skip ahead. I will give you time to do that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, if you're still here, you've been warned. WandaVision episode 6. Probably the most haunting episode yet, and that's just based off of the fact that we saw that visual of Vision getting ripped apart as he tried to escape the Hex. That was absolutely horrifying, and that's after we've seen a dead Quicksilver and a dead Vision, glimpses by Wanda in this series. But yeah, again, this continues to be a marvelous show. Another great episode. Episode 6 was. But yeah, Vision, he's figured out what Wanda's doing, tried to escape, got brought back. We saw Billy and Tommy get their superpowers in this episode. Suddenly all those kids appeared after last week's episode of Vision asking Wanda, why aren't there any kids? When one of his questions about his validity of what the reality was. And suddenly this is a Halloween episode and there's a bunch of kids. But yeah, Billy and Tommy get their superpowers. We see the dynamic with Quicksilver. Couple of references. A lot of people starting to think Evan Peters might be Mephisto, and that Quicksilver might be Mephisto with some of the references to hell and his knowledge of Wanda and the surroundings. A lot of people got questions about that one. What's up with Agnes, her parked out there? We started to see Wanda lose control more and more. As you can see, she's more in control of the stuff that's happening around them. But like, I guess you would expect, it's almost Truman Show. I've seen a lot of comparisons to the Truman Show for this show. You saw the background as they got further away, as Vision traveled further and further away from the center of the town where Wanda was. People just, the movement stopped, and it was just like they were extras waiting to do something. So yeah, that was very interesting to see. The FBI, SWORD, has been just erratic. The leader, the director, dude is just, he's looking very villainish. He could be a red herring. So it'll be very interesting to see. But yeah, WandaVision, another great episode. I'll be looking forward to episode 7. Last week they did the early 2000s, so I'm very interested to see what the show's in. Is it going to be back up to modern times? They're doing late 2000s or 2010s. I'm very interested to see what happens here and see how this show continues to progress, because it's been phenomenal so far. Attack on Titan, episode 10. Very, very interesting episode. I said I was Team Aaron, 2 weeks ago? And last week I reiterated it. I'm still Team Aaron, but I think I might be a little bit more Team Paris because even though Man by Aaron built different, that had the people going wild yesterday. He's different. He's different. Not just built different, but he's just his mindset. He's just a different person. He's a different person right now. This could be all a part of the grand scheme plan that him and Zeke, his half brother, have concocted. I'm not sure exactly what, but I'm very interested to find out. I think we'll find out more about that next week. If you saw that preview with Aaron and Levi, of course they got that thing going on between them two and that ongoing rivalry. But Aaron's completely changed person. Don't really like how he acted around Hange. Of course, Connie really taking that Sasha death to heart, as everybody was. Mikasa and Armin, the big three, they were supposed to be together forever. Are starting to doubt. Not Mikasa, of course, because she loves him. Listen, if this man does not wife her by the end of this series, what is he doing? What is he doing? What is he doing? But you know what? The thing about the Aaron and Mikasa, and I've been on that team forever, is another element of this past week's episode was that Astoria is pregnant. Which is done seemingly to stop her from becoming a Titan. As we saw, Aaron very much so opposed that plan, which was concocted by Zeke. In the flashback, of course, he went crazy about that's absolutely not going to happen. And then they had the story about, Astoria got pregnant by some farmer boy that bullied. That just kind of came out of left field. So I think that's kind of a smokescreen. So who is the father? That is the real question. Who is the father? Who is the father of this child? And I was talking about Aaron before, and I led up with that because I think Aaron might be the father. Ladies and gentlemen, I know. I feel like Aaron is so far gone that he would do it. I think he would do it. I believe that Aaron might be the father of this child, and he did that, him and Astoria did this so that she did not have to become a Titan. Because they were talking about in the flashback when they were in the carriage with the scouts, the young scouts, at least Armin, Sasha, Coney, Jian, all of them, right? He said that they were the people, he didn't want any of them to become Titans because those were the people that meant the most to him. Even though Astoria wasn't there, I would include her kind of in that core of people that mean the most to Aaron. So I could see that being a possibly part of his plan. Because I honestly, at this point, I think he might have a slightly different plan. Even behind him and Zeke's plan, I could see Aaron having his own motivations here. And we've kind of seen him take his own liberties already. So he's also on the timer, of course. I think he has 3 years left to live before the Titan kind of curse takes over for him. So it'll be very interesting to see next week's episode. This week's episode presented a lot of questions, set a lot of stuff up. Hopefully we get to see some of those get answered. Of course, this is a 16 episode season, and they're not going to cover everything, so I'm very interested to see how the rest of the season, how the pacing goes. But another solid episode from Attack on Titan, one of the best shows on television, as I've said, every single week that I have covered. Now, music. Finally we get an album reaction. Yes, Chris finally listened to an album. Yes, thank you. Slowthai is back with Tyron. Pretty much what you can expect from Slowthai. I'm going to give it a, drumroll please, 8.7. I think it was very good. I think it was a very good album. He was really in his pocket on that second half. I really love what he did on that second half. With, of course, Signs, ADHD was a great closer to the album. Cancel Feet Skepta, of course, got the music video. That was a banger. Though I liked the first half was more experimental. Another signature of Slowthai, which you expect from him. And you got a lot of that, a lot of bangers, a lot of experimental type stuff. Though the second half still had some experimental, type, sounds. Um, it was a lot more mellow and just kind of him in the pocket, and I really enjoyed that. I like both halves, but I really enjoyed that second half. And yeah, it was a very good album. Very, very good album. Highly recommended. 8.7. I think that's a pretty fair rating. Cancel, definitely one of the standout tracks. And ADHD, I think those are my two top ones right now. Though that's ongoing and changing, of course, as I listen. But thoroughly enjoyed it. Highly recommended. Slowthai by Tyron by Slowthai. Other music news, we have Brent Faiyaz return with 3 songs in which he dropped in a Dropbox, which is a very Brent thing to do, because I don't know any other artist that would drop music on a Dropbox. You know what? I'm going to let it be great. One of them had a music video that was uploaded on YouTube, Circles, that was very good. I mean, all of these were a vibe. It's Brent. You kind of knew it was going to be fire when I said it was Brent, so I don't even know why in your head you were like, I wonder if Chris thought it was fire. Yes, it was fire. It's always a vibe with him. Very consistent and very consistently good. All 3 of those good. Very excited for his upcoming album whenever that decides to come out or whenever he decides to drop that. But more Brent music is always appreciated. Still need to listen to Paper Soldier and Price of Fame a little bit more. But all 3 I kind of have them on the same level, all very good. Don't really have a standout. If you haven't already and you want that R&B, that mellow, that just real chill, just a vibe. It's just a vibe. So if you want that, go listen if you haven't already. Highly recommend it. What else? Music news. Lil TJ and Black dropped. I almost called him 6 Lack. Who else had that tendency at first when you first heard his name? When you read it, you thought it was 6 Lack and not Black. I feel like that kind of happened to everybody. Anyways, Black and Lil TJ finally dropped Calling My Phone. This is the song you've probably heard 15 million trillion times on TikTok. And they finally dropped the full song. Very good stuff. Very good stuff from TJ and Black. And yeah, I mean, you've probably heard it by now, so I don't really need to say it, or at least you've heard the chorus. But the rest of the song really completes it, so I was very interested to see how it would sound. But yeah, it was good. It was a good week of music, I have to say. Very good week of music, even though we did not get TLB once again. One of these Fridays. You know how this goes. Lastly, and this is not even in music, this is kind of in dance, but it's kind of in music, because shout out to Destiny Rogers, because Tomboys is slaps. But yeah, don't know really how to intro this next thing. I'll just kind of pop it up right here. But the woman that is responsible for all of my Google searches on how far away is Seoul, South Korea, and flights to Seoul, South Korea, dropped Lili Film, the movie. And ladies and gentlemen, it was a movie. It's not really much to say. I mean, I really tried to hold on calling Lisa the GOAT, or or calling her the best, or giving her or granting her legendary status. With all due respect to the other great performers, not only in the Korean scene, but just in the world, and the other great dancers in the world in the Korean scene. I've tried to hold off. I've tried to hold off and be respectful, even though she's the GOAT in my eyes. But it got very hard after this. I feel like she's just the best. It's so satisfying seeing, and this is like watching sports. It's like watching LeBron play basketball, or Mahomes or Brady play football, or Mike Trout play baseball. It's so satisfying to see somebody at the best or at the top of what they do what they do. It's so satisfying to watch, and the movie was so very satisfying to watch. She's just she's one of the best performers and dancers, I think, just on the planet. In general, regardless of what scene, I think she's one of the best. And the production quality and just her abilities and body control and fluidity in this, I could go on and on. You watch it. You do it yourself. You're welcome. Consider this a Valentine's Day present. I guess I'm your Valentine. You're welcome. Go watch it. Lili Film, the movie. Thank me later. Now to head over to the NBA. Let's see. We have, what shall I start off with? Oh, I don't know. The G League bubble. Yes, Chris, I know we have the regular season on. So aren't you going to talk? I'm going to talk about the regular season. But first I'm going to talk about the G League bubble, okay? Because the G League bubble has been infinitely more interesting this past week, than the regular season NBA. Not that there's not stuff to talk about, But the G League bubble has been amazing. It's been amazing. Seeing all these guys that have been somewhat forgotten, what you remember as college stars, or guys that were overlooked, just go crazy. Like Trey Jones. I don't know why. First off, I don't know why Trey Jones is in the G League bubble. I feel like that's not really fair. And he's one of the early contenders for G League bubble MVP. That Austin Spurs team is 3-0, and he just had 30 and 11 the past game. I think he's averaging 24 and 11 for the entire bubble. He looks like he can play. I mean, I know he can play. I said that if you go back to the draft preview, I said he was one of the top point guards in this class, but he got disregarded anyways. My Duke bias may be showing a little bit. No, that's not even Duke bias. Trey Jones is a great young point guard. Great on defense, showing he's a great playmaker, and now he's showing some scoring ability. And with Pop, it's a match made in heaven. Anyways, G League bubble's been interesting. One of those reasons, of course, is the G League Ignite. Yes, all of those great legendary high school figures from the past year that decided to not go to college have ended up on this Ignite team, and a lot of people were expecting them to not be so good. But ladies and gentlemen, the Ignite are 3-0. The G League Ignite are 3-0 right now in the G League bubble. They play again at 3 o'clock on ESPNU. And by the time this is out, of course, that'll probably be past. But we'll see if they go to 4-0. They're facing the 0-3 team. But yeah, John Kuminga, of course, been the major standout on that team. Don't know why people had Kuminga outside of the top 5. That was confusing to me. I think it was pretty clear that he was in that KJG, and then it was JK level. But yeah, JK's been hooping. He's been balling out. He's been the best player on that team and the best out of the prospects, I think, so far. So just impressive stuff. Showed a great. I mean, he was able to fit in flawlessly. Showed some flashes shooting, but he's been able to get to the basket. Great job slashing. Been a great rebounder. Been a much better playmaker than a lot of people expected. His defense hasn't been the greatest, but young guy, dealing with playing pros now. See if that's something he can fix. I think it is. I think he's one of the top prospects. I think he's going to be a superstar in this league. But yeah, JK balling out. JG, of course, I have to talk about my guy Jalen Green, who I believe was one of the contenders for #1 overall pick. Still is. I would ease off to more kind of top 5-ish range right now. Taking him a little bit more of a time to kind of settle into that offensive flow. Though I will say him in the second half in pretty much all of these past 3 games, the Ignite have had has been completely different. It's like a switch flips and he becomes a major threat. So yeah, looking to see JG keep improving, keep showing why he was considered one of the, if not the top prospect coming out of high school. And yeah, showed some of the shooting, showed the scoring abilities. His rebound pretty good. Want to see the playmaking and the turnovers improve. I knew they were going to struggle against Gary Payton II, who was an all-world defender. Knew they were going to struggle against GP2, but want to see him cut down on turnovers, improve the playmaking, especially as a guard in the league. His defense has been, I mean, for everybody else saying he might be a defensive liability, I haven't seen it. He's defended really well, and I think he could be a very good defender. Actually, I'm very willing to put that out there. I think he could be a good two-way guy. At this point, not just an offensive guy, with his defending abilities shown. Not perfect, but it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Much better than expected. Deshaun Nix, another guy putting on for that team. He's looked much better. A lot of people comparing him to a bigger Kyle Lowry, and I think you have to, put into account, even though Nix does look significantly bigger. Not sure if it's muscle or whatever. Is that he is 6'5", so that 230 does sit a little bit different. He almost looks like he's built like Harden almost right now. But he's been a great point guard. He's been showing why, besides Cade, he was the top point guard in this class. He's been off to a hot start. Isaiah Todd started to show some flashes. And I've seen a lot of Chris Bosh comparisons, which I really like for him. Looking to see him get more opportunities and get better as this goes on. But yeah, the Ignite have been great so far. I think more prospects we'll see. I know Michael Foster Jr. is highly considering. I think we'll see more prospects start to go this route with how successful it's been so far. And of course, ESPN, put them on TV. I will watch literally all of the Ignite games like they are the Lakers, or for some reason y'all think Zion and the Pelicans are a draw. I mean, he is, but I mean, y'all kind of overdoing it. But I will watch every single Ignite game. If y'all put those on TV, I will watch every single one. It's pure entertainment. And yes, the G League bubble. Continuing on with the NBA, we had some interesting results the past couple days. Portland played Dallas yesterday. Two teams that have been surging, two teams with a lot of momentum, and two teams with MVP candidates. Dame with the game winner, per usual. I mean, it's what Dame does. It was Dame time, and Dame delivered. Dame with 34 and 11. Luka Doncic is on a tear. He did miss the game winner. There's been a lot of talk about Luka this season, but he's been living up to the hype, especially the past couple games. 44, 7, and 9 in this game. Did miss the game winner though. Dame is averaging 29 points, and it's 4 straight wins for Portland. Portland has been hot. They've been hot. Dame needs to absolutely be in MVP combos, without a question. But yeah, great game. Luka continues. I think that was his second straight 40-point game. Dude just he scores at such a high level. It's kind of crazy. Somebody brought up that he hasn't scored 50 or 60 yet, but it seems like he stays in that high 30s, 40-point, almost triple-double range. Just consistently. Like I've said in the past with this Dallas team, though Porzingis not bad, they just need other things. If they want to reach that next level, they need another guy that's on that like Porzingis level, and then they just need to improve the rest of that team. Luka's obviously the franchise player, but they need to get those other things impact if they really want to make some noise. But yeah, good stuff from Dame, good stuff from Portland. Brooklyn. Nothing bad to say about them this week. I know I've ragged on the Nets, but nothing bad to say about them this week. They took on the Warriors. They get the win, 134 to 117. Break their own skid. They haven't been playing too well though. Had lost 3 straight heading into this game. Harden 19 and 16. Apparently Harden and Kyrie have fixed the whole who's the point guard issue. With Kyrie deferring to Harden as the point guard, calling him the official point guard. So we'll see if that helps with the chemistry and helps with the development of this Nets team, who still need to make the moves, like I said. But, of course, this is a big win to help them get back on track. Of course, KD has been dealing with the whole COVID thing and what's going on over there. Curry, even though they've lost, I do want to say Curry averaging 30 points for the season on 49, 43, and 93 splits. Nearly 50, 40, 90. Cannot say how good that Steph Curry has been. Really reaffirmed himself as the best point guard in this league and a top 5 player in this league, if I'm being honest. However, just no Clay. Clay visibly frustrated in this game. Just not the Warriors' season right now, especially without Clay. Though Oubre's starting to play better, Wiggins has been pretty good. And I think they'll be a playoff team, of course, but it's just I don't see them having championship aspirations with Clay, because they've been able spots where Clay would have stepped up and been that help for Curry. He hasn't been there, and they've lost games like that. And I just don't think they'll be able to ever turn that gear, and somebody's going to step up into that position and be that second, great, reliable scorer guy for the Warriors that they need right now. And I don't think they need to make a move for it. But they're a very interesting team to watch. Any team with Curry is going to be fun to watch. And he's been on a tear this season, so we'll see how that goes. Brooklyn, we'll see if they can continue this momentum. One of the best teams in the league I have to highlight is the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are 22 and 5. I think that's the best record in the league right now. Spider averaging almost 25. Mike Conley's on. People are talking about Conley for All-Star and how good he's been. It's kind of wild that even back in his Memphis days that Conley never made an All-Star team, I think that's absolutely crazy. Let's see. Jordan Clarkson averaging 17 off the bench. Bojan Bogdanovic has been good. Rudy Gobert, despite what you think about his contract or about Rudy, at the end of the day, is still one of the best centers in the league. This Utah team has looked very, 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 very good. They were pretty good in the bubble up to that duel versus Denver. That was very fun to watch. But they've continued that momentum and been one of the best teams in the league. We'll see what happens. They're looking like they're going to unseat the Lakers for that #1 seed, especially with AD dealing with the Achilles injury. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Of course, you never want to see a guy like AD get hurt, especially dealing with Achilles and how dangerous that can be. Hopefully just rest him. But Utah looking like they're going to take that #1 seed, and we'll see if they can make themselves the team to beat in the West. It's going to be very interesting down the stretch here, and to see what they do in the playoffs, because I would pretty much think they're going to make the playoffs bar something drastic happening. But yeah, hot start for the Jazz. Be the best team in the league. And with that said, I have read all of my notes for this week, which means we have reached the Roundup. Yes, we have reached the Roundup, ladies and gentlemen. And we are kicking it. There's been no football. There's no football to really talk about. There's no college football. There's no NFL. But we do have some college football recruiting. Ladies and gentlemen, the #2 quarterback in the 2022 class, the guy behind Quinn Ewers, who is potentially a generational quarterback, potentially the best quarterback prospect. Well, I can't say potentially. He is currently the best quarterback prospect since that guy, that's going #1 overall this year, that just had his pro day and did pretty good, Trevor Lawrence. Texas lost Quinn Ewers, current #1 prospect. Well, Sark replaces him with the #2 prospect. Well, not the #2 prospect, the #2 quarterback in this class, and fellow 5-star prospect Malik Murphy. He's got all of the raw talent, got all of the attributes you want in a quarterback. And I think Texas is the right place with Sark and what he's done with quarterbacks. I think this is potentially dangerous. It could be very, very good for Texas. But I will say he hasn't played in a year and a half almost. Though Cali will be playing this spring on a reduced schedule. It's going to be interesting to see how his development's been. And if he really is still the #2 quarterback in that class, then I know a lot of people thought he had the upside of being a top 5 guy in this class. So we'll see what the deal is with Murphy. Though huge pickup for Sark early on here for Texas. This could be a class changer and really could, put them in contention with Ohio State. Well, I won't say Ohio State's 2020 class is going to be ridiculous when it's done. But could put them up there with one of the top classes in the nation with a foundational piece like Malik Murphy. And if they can build around that, that could be very, very special. Let's see. Champions League is back. Yes, sir, ladies and gentlemen. The Champions League is back. It's been so long. So long. But the Champions League is back. PSG versus Barca, Leipzig versus Porto, Porto versus Juve, and Sevilla versus Dortmund. Going to be a very, very interesting week in the Champions League. Of course, Neymar is out for this Barcelona game because of an injury. Look, he may actually be injured, but listen, it's getting real suspicious that he gets injured for the past 7 years around the time of his sister's birthday, and he always ends up at that birthday. I always think that's very interesting. I don't make, I'm not saying anything is going on. I'm just a little suspicious. Yeah, PSG without Neymar, Mbappe is really going to have to step up, but really maybe not even as much so him, but guys like Icardi, Keane, really going to have to put in some work here. Even though Barca's not, Barca, this is still Messi's Barca, and they're always going to be dangerous as long as they got him. And they're always going to be able to beat pretty much anybody on any day as long as they have him, as he's potentially the greatest player to ever live. Porto Juve going to be very interesting as well. Ronaldo versus Porto against another Portuguese team. Porto, we'll see if they can make some noise, get the upset. They've been able to do it in the past, of course. We remember that magical, I think, 2005 run they had. But yeah, we'll see how Juve does, see if they can get. I think Juve's been in a pretty good run of form. Ronaldo's been in a pretty good run of form as well. Another team that hasn't been in a good run of form, however, is Dortmund. They get Sevilla, who has been scorching hot in the Spanish league. And they're the defending Europa League champions. I think Sevilla is actually going to win, at least on Thursday. We'll see if they win on aggregate, in the next leg. But I think they'll win this first leg. Dortmund's been up and down. Of course, you got Haaland, you got Sancho, but the rest of the young guys haven't been up to form, and we'll see what happens against Sevilla and see how that goes down. Lastly, what else? Daytona 500 was last night, biggest race in NASCAR. Crazy finish per usual with Daytona, as you would expect. Very intense finish. Michael McDowell gets his first career win at the Daytona 500. Chase loses by like a second. Bad inning for Team Penske with all of them wrecking almost at the same time, except for Blaney. Wasn't the best Daytona 500 because the big one happened at lap 15 and that wiped out a lot of contenders, a lot of good cars. And of course then you had the rain and the red flag, so it kind of went on for a long time, but Daytona 500 endings always deliver, and it certainly did this time. And yeah, upset winner, McDowell, gets him into the playoffs, so we'll see how he does the rest of the year. That's huge for him. But yeah, that's the start of the Daytona season. Lastly, since I have time, Zack Snyder dropped the trailer for Justice League. Looks absolutely crazy. I guess Darkseid is, listen, apparently we're getting 3.5 hours. It's 4 hours long, we're getting 3.5 hours minimum of new footage. This is basically a new movie. A completely different movie at the very least. So again, hype is at capacity. I can't get any more hype for that. I'll be watching that the day it comes out on HBO Max. And yeah, can't wait. Leto's Joker is back. He did the We Live in a Society bit, which is great humor from Snyder. To play on that meme, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that nightmare sequence is. We'll see what Darkseid's doing, how involved he is in this. But yeah, looks like a much better movie than the first time around, and happy Snyder gets to at least finish his vision here, and we'll see what goes on past that. But yeah, without further ado, that is all I have to talk about this week, episode 28. Yeah, pretty packed. With the things I did and did have to talk about, with basketball and entertainment, huge week in entertainment. But yeah, hope you had a great Valentine's Day. If you're single like me, hope you also had a great Valentine's Day. It's a fake holiday, it's a commercial holiday. It's alright, fellas, ladies, whoever's watching. If you're single, don't worry, I feel your pain. We're in this together, we're all in this together, in the words of High School Musical. But yeah. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Social medias are at the end of this video, so you might as well close it out. But yeah, without further ado, Ocho, signing off.